Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Maqbool, with you at PTV WORLD. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the developing situation in the region and in the ways that we have seen Indian involvement in state-sponsored terrorism and activities in Pakistan, most recently in Khuzdar, which the defense minister has also stated that we will be proving with evidence. And this is extremely important given the fact that India has acted on baseless allegations against Pakistan after the Belgaum attack, of course, has met with a befitting response. But Pakistan has responded very, very clearly in terms of Indian activities and involvement in terror networks that have affected in Pakistan and, of course, resulted in the death of innocent lives, including that of children, and injuries to many others. And this is something that Pakistan will be proving with evidence, as it has done so in the past as well. We have seen that credible evidence has always been given to back any claim that Pakistan makes, and we've seen that the Prime Minister has also decided to send a delegation to different world capitals to put forward these facts, and most recently, of course, with Indian involvement in terrorist activities, and the attack in Khuzdar is something that Mr. Khawaja Asif has clearly stated will be proven with evidence. And this is particularly important in terms of the aftermath of Pakistan's victory and success in the recent operation against India. We have seen that now India has resorted to Indian proxies within Pakistan in the form of BLA and TTP, and this is, of course, something that has been going on for quite some time, and we've now seen that happen even more so. So we're going to be taking a look at what that means and what sort of an investigation is required to move forward, particularly when we take this to the international community and other international platforms, as has been done in the past, to actually hold India accountable and to give the consequence that it deserves. That's going to be the focus of our discussion today. For this and more, as always, in the studios have been passing analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal, and we've also been joined by political analyst Mr. Muneeb. Qadir. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being a part of the show. And Muneeb, I'm going to start with you with reference to what we have seen. This is not the first time that we've seen terror activities in Pakistan sponsored by India, and Pakistan, of course, has put forward credible evidence in the past as well, and most recently with the conflict with India, we've seen that happen as well, that credible and fact-based information has come out from Pakistan and, of course, otherwise from India. But I want your take in terms of what value would it hold when we talk about these incidents, when we fight these terror activities in Pakistan and we put forward this evidence, as the defense minister has also stated. What is the eventual expectation when we do that, and what needs to be done about it?
First of all, it's so saddening and beyond words just to see the pictures of particularly those 3 children who've been slain in the terrorist attack in Khuzdar bus attack yesterday. And it's so heart-wrenching. It's so tragic that no matter how much one condemns it, it's never enough. But we also need to keep in mind that for a very long time, Indian media or Indian analysts, they have been saying loud that they have contacts of certain people that they have sent in Balochistan, and they're just one call away and they could wreak havoc on Balochistan. And who said that? Major Gaurav, a person who sits on Republic TV. Now, Republic TV is the same channel whose CEO Arnab Goswami was found to have known of the Balakot strikes in 2019, 3 days before that even happened. So we know that this media, people sitting on Indian media, they are not just saying things into oblivion. They actually mean what they say because they are very close to the Modi government. And that for that reason, they're known as Godi media. So the confidence with which they are claiming that they have means to create ruckus, to create mayhem in Balochistan, that needs to be taken very seriously. And after, the Pahalgam attack, which took place last month, when without any substantiation, the Indian government, Indian officials had started pinning the blame on Pakistan. Pakistan government had been confidently saying and asserting that they are open to an international neutral probe over the matter. Why is it that such transparency, such openness has not been seen from the Indian side? Why is India not saying that, we were not behind the Khuzdar bus attack, and if you want an international probe, we're open to it? It's because they know that they've done it. It's because they know that they've got their fingerprints all over terror attacks in Balochistan. I mean, the Kulbhushan Jadhav case is notorious in that regard. So I'm actually glad that we are talking about this and we are talking about raising this matter on an international level, because enough is enough. And I believe that there is credible evidence. And when the defense minister of the country says that groups like Fitna al-Kharij and groups like BLA, they are being sponsored by India, they are proxies of India operating here, then I believe that adds a lot of credence to the claim. And this is something that we should not let go of. This is something that we should not be taking lying down, and we need to raise this matter internationally.
Absolutely. Muneeb, when we take a look at the ways that we have seen previous issues also being put forward internationally, previous dossiers also been put internationally, and we are of course aware of the violations of the UN Security Council resolutions, for example, or unilateral decisions that have been taken in the occupied valley. We haven't really seen any concrete action taken when we do take this to the international community. So when we're doing that, of course, we need some sort of action in response to that as well. We need to be, of course, protecting our own civilians and fighting against terrorism as this is happening in Pakistan. So when we go this time around, do you think there will be any difference post the developing situation that we see now after the conflict with India?
For one, Pakistan is one of the members of Security Council right now, so we've got some weight internationally. Also, I think that India's narrative has suffered a lot. I think that it's been an own goal for India. Whatever war frenzy that they had created and generated at their end, particularly following the 6th May and the events of 7th May, and the lies that not only their media has been peddling, but even their government officials have been peddling. Even people like Christine Fair, who were not in favor of Pakistan, have been going on Republic TV, on Indian channels, and they've been saying it out loud that there has been damage done to the Indian side, not only in the narrative wars, but also on the ground. So even people like those, even CNN had reported, France 24 had reported that Pakistan had successfully downed their Rafale jets and their MiGs, and still they were lying, and they had been claiming that India has somehow seized seas and ports in Lahore when there are no seas and ports in Lahore. So that kind of credibility, and even more liberal and progressive voices within India have been saying, oh, why don't we dehyphenate India and Pakistan? To make matters worse for India, then the American president has been saying out loud that Pakistan is a great nation and we want to increase our trade with them. And even the international community has not responded to India's assertions, that they wanted the international community to name Pakistan as the perpetrators of the Pahalgam attacks. So that's a massive diplomatic defeat for India, and that is something that Pakistan could capitalize on. This is a moment when India's credibility is going through an all-time low, and that strengthens our narrative. Also, the fact that Indian media and Indian officials are using such harsh words and hostile words against President Donald Trump. They're also calling for diplomatic, they are calling for boycott of Turkey and Azerbaijan, and spewing venom against countries which have not sided with them but have sided with Pakistan. So all of this put together, it means that Pakistan has gained certain amount of leverage internationally, and we need to use it to our advantage, to maximum advantage.
Right. And Farrukh, I want your take on that, because while we hear that kind of rhetoric that Muneeb is referring to coming in from the US or other countries, how much that will also be backed by actual tangible action? And particularly when we talk about anti-terrorism approach or sentiment, will there be any cooperation with regards to what Pakistan is facing and in relation to Indian involvement?
Right, Sana, thank you very much for the question. Regarding what Muneeb was saying, I had one impression and request that I'm going to actually share with him, and that is maybe go easy on watching Republic TV because that is wastage of time. Regarding what you were saying, Sana, and regarding India's interference in Pakistan, I'm at liberty to tell you something very interesting. India keeps on saying that Pakistan has assured India that no terrorist activity will take place in India. So let me actually fill you in about what Indian side has been assuring Pakistan, because DGMOs are not the only channel that has been active, right? NSAs also speak, or through third parties speak. India also has assured Pakistan that this kind of activity, like what happened in Khuzdar, by the way, the sad number of people who have died has increased now to, children have died has increased to 4. So that is a sad statement on how India works. But that India had also assured that it is going to roll back these campaigns. So the question right now is, what exactly is India playing at? Whether it is in command or in control of its all senses. I keep on using one term since the whole story started, Sana, and that is India is hormonal. India has, tried to actually project itself as too muscular, and while doing so, all the elements don't seem to be actually within its control. And then today Narendra Modi also spoke, and he actually stated that instead of blood in his veins, hot liquid sindoor runs. I don't know how that works for biochemistry, but I know one thing for sure, that they don't know what to do with the pretending they actually came up with. They were forewarned, Sana. Don't actually externalize the internal matters, but they ended up doing that. Remember what I at that time told you. I told you that don't actually think about it, because you will have a pushback. Look at our forced posture. They did not listen. They ended up exposing their own weaknesses, by the way. The world, India seems to actually be talking to the world through the lens of or through the microphone of ideology, when the world is looking at competence. There is such a thing as kill chain when it comes to modern warfare, and India has actually exposed its weaknesses in its multi-domain warfare. So next time you think about that, we are just going to use that to cook you in that oil, and then feed your own people with that, right? So India should know that. Repeatedly Pakistani social media actually keeps on projecting somehow that India might actually attack on 24th or 25th. They have actually indicated something of this similar nature by actually ending the Tiranga Yatra on that date, and then they keep on reminding you that Operation Sindoor is not over.
Yeah.
Remember that we were ready, and we are more ready than before. So whatever you do, you will know what hit you. And that on our side, again, the people who might be actually spreading the speculation should shut up, because we need to identify who might be actually working for the other side, because in the end, if there is going to be any indication that there is imminent war, it is DGISPR's job, it is the information minister's job. Now, regarding India's speculation, India's consequences for India, Pakistani government will decide what to do with whatever India is doing in Pakistan, and we have been repeatedly saying it. But there seems to be a propaganda spin warfare coming from India, which seems to be failing. The world is not listening to the ideological arguments, because India has clearly shown you that it acts first and then looks for evidence. It is called chain of evidence, and today we are going to talk about too many chains, by the way. And it is also chain of culpability. They seem to have actually decided that whosoever attacked people in Pahalgam were backed by Pakistan. They haven't apprehended the actual perpetrators. They haven't even actually produced any evidence. And then they say that we have actually met all our objectives in the so-called Operation Sindoor. Look, the story is simple. Without the chain of culpability, if you are trying to kill somebody, what exactly are you doing? You showed to the world that you haven't actually found the actual culprits, so you just go and randomly kill somebody, right? It is like Faisal might have killed somebody, and you are asked to actually do justice. Faisal has disappeared. So what you do is you just go to raid any prison, take anybody out, and just hang them, right? this kind of an argument will not work. Faisal agrees, by the way. I was actually mentioning his name. And then regarding ideology, India's condescending tone and its attitude seems plain. While they are sending Shashi Tharoor out, and then I told you yesterday, the actual target seems to be internal, so that they can poach enough people to BJP's side that they get to 272 without any kind of allies. But in the end, he is going abroad. So we have actually, like their BrahMos were actually targeted with our electronic warfare, and their planes were hit by ours. So for their Shashi Tharoor, we have Bilawal, who is younger, more capable, more energetic, and we will see what becomes of Operation Tharoor after Operation Sindoor. India keeps on saying that India is a democracy, Pakistan is not. Now, do you seriously want to go there? India might have been a democracy 11 years ago, 12 years ago, but do we not remember what was the fight between V.K. Singh, who was the outgoing army chief, regarding a corner plot, and Manmohan Singh, of that time the Prime Minister? And after that, what he said to his own army. And after that, remember that Shastra University speeches that Ajay Doval actually went for. Was it a speech for the consumption of a university, or was it pitched to the 4 intelligence agencies of India? And what did those intelligence agencies do after that? Remember that that is important, because there was a consensus that they have to elect Narendra Modi for 10 years. And then if nobody is paying attention, perhaps what happened in Maharashtra, where the number of registered voters and number of votes that BJP got have a serious discrepancy. If you want to go there, then we can also talk about what happened in Varanasi past year in the elections, where all of a sudden election results changed. So India can claim that it is democracy. India keeps on pretending that it is better than us. It is not even better than its past self. Are we better than India? Who cares? The fact is that we are better than what we were yesterday. So we keep on improving, India keeps on going back, and India will keep on damaging itself. Not to mention India's interference campaign with our democracy. We have evidence of all these things, Sana, that I am speaking of, and not only us. Five Eyes have that. So if India keeps on continuing its suicidal path, all those evidences can very easily leak and expose India for whatever it is. So it is better to hold your peace and stop pretending. Again, another catchphrase, the media actually, the public types, they keep on peddling that Pakistan is a beggar nation and India is better than Pakistan. Do you really want to tell your people, or should we, who went to Washington repeatedly begging for what? Begging for whom? So these are important questions, remember, Slara. So Pakistan is ahead of its game, India's game in narratives. Pakistan is way ahead regarding India's intelligence operations, and Pakistan is way ahead even in warfare. It is a fight of competence. It is not a fight of ideology. We will beat you in ideology also.
Right. Yes, Faisal.
Sana, with your permission, I wanted to go towards Muneeb.
Sure.
Muneeb, here is a situation in which, of course, we saw India come in towards Pakistan and bombing the mosques and bombing the schools of Pakistan,
Yes.
and killing children even. And the youngest one was, of course, 2-year-old. And only because of what? Because of fake and because of false allegations against Pakistan, that Pakistan was somehow involved in Pahalgam attack. But now, of course, there is a situation in which we know that this very attack, the Khuzdar attack, where children, school children, they are being targeted by BLA and BLF, and it's a known fact that they are being funded, facilitated and financed by the Indians. Kulbhushan Jadhav is a living example of it. When it comes to APS attack, of course, the people who were involved in it, they were the proxies of the Indians too. And when we talk about incidents likes of Jafar Express, of course, India was fully drenched involved in it. Why? Because minute to minute updates we have been seeing appearing on the Indian channels. I mean, I'm a journalist in Pakistan. I hadn't had any access to all of the videos which were being sent by BLA and BLF to Shrivastava Group. On the basis of what? Of course, Shrivastava Group is a media wing of RAW, and BLA is proxy of RAW in Pakistan, activated against Pakistan. Shouldn't it be the case that when we saw that India felt that it is compelled to attack sanctuaries in Pakistan only on the basis of false allegations on Pakistan and killing the kids and children and women and elderly, we as a nation have a right to respond to places like RSS headquarters in Nagpur and RAW headquarter in New Delhi, Shrivastava Group sitting in New Delhi, of course, or Noida. Of course, all of these places should be target for Pakistan, and this is the way to go forward, and at least Pakistan can give this ultimatum to the Indians that if ever happens anything in Balochistan by the BLA or BLF, if ever anything happens in Pakistan by TTP or ISIS Khorasan, of course we are going to hit where it really matters.
Right. Yes, Muneeb.
All right. My take is that de-escalation actually was what Pakistan had been talking about when this whole Operation Sindoor, actually this drama of Operation Sindoor was going on. And I still believe that de-escalation and having a rules-based international order and system is what is the need of the hour. And I think that India acted as a rogue state. It behaved like an international pariah when it launched its so-called Operation Sindoor, because first of all, what kind of cowardice does it take to launch an attack on civilian targets, no less, in the darkest hour of the night? First of all, that. And under Article 24 of the UN Charter, it's highly unlawful and illegal to resolve your international disputes by the use of force. You cannot do that. And secondly, India could never rely on Article 51 of the UN Charter to claim that the Operation Sindoor was self-defense, because there was no imminent danger to them. They had not substantiated any of their claims that there was danger to them emanating from Pakistan, or that Pakistan was even behind the Pahalgam terror attacks. Actually, the question that India should have asked themselves was, why did we allow this to happen in Pahalgam when it was so, strongly armed, when they had sent the armed forces, heavily militarized zone, and yet under Modi's watch and his government's watch and under the watch of the Indian army, they let that happen in Pahalgam. So the failure was theirs and the blame was to be shouldered by them, and it had nothing to do with Pakistan, unless they can prove otherwise, which they have miserably failed to do. So I don't believe that Pakistan needs to take a very aggressive stance. We have actually put them in their place. When Pakistan launched successfully again the Banyanam Marsus operation and downed their Rafale jets and down the MiGs. And I think that we've made a very clear statement, and that is exactly what then prompted India to agree to a ceasefire, because they saw that they were trying to win a battle that they had lost already. So being the aggressor is actually what puts you on the wrong side, and India acted as the aggressor. India, by initiating and risking a nuclear war, acted as an international pariah, and their credibility, as I've said even previously, is at an all-time low. So Pakistan only needs to raise this case internationally, needs to take the international community to its side, and internally as well. Pakistan's first aims ought to be national cohesion, making sure that where there's discord, there should be unity from within, so that India's narrative can never stand, the ground reality, can never stand the test of evidence that there is. So I think that we need to strengthen ourselves the most, because India is doing a very good job at weakening itself.
Right. Muneeb, there's also the trilateral meeting that we've seen happen recently between Pakistan, China and Afghanistan, and we saw that, of course, when we take a look of the involvement of terror networks in the region, Afghanistan also plays a very key role in, of course, safe havens in Afghanistan, and then the kind of India-Afghanistan nexus that also exists is very, very important. And we've seen that this sort of agreement, at least in spirit, is there to not let their soil being used against Pakistan, and it seems that China is of the same opinion in this regard. But what sort of regional cooperation can you really expect between these countries, and particularly in terms of the assurances that we keep hearing from Afghanistan but haven't really seen in practical terms?
See, Afghanistan and the regime that is sitting there, which never even came on the basis of a vote or people's mandate, and the human rights record or the lack of it, it's all out in the open. So Afghanistan is not the most reliable neighbor that we could have. But yes, there is some common ground, and that common ground is that, states in the region, they are iterating and reiterating repeatedly the fact that as a part of their policy, they would never tolerate any group to operate on their soil, which could pose a threat to, other neighboring countries. And Pakistan is a part of that pact. China is part of that agreement. And so Afghanistan is also joined in. So at least, when you start using that sort of language, diplomacy, that is the first step towards ensuring a long-term solution for peace, to ensure long-term peace in the region. So even though I am skeptical and not very trustworthy of the Afghan regime, but I would still take this, as a positive sign. But we also need to keep in mind that just when the ceasefire was announced between Pakistan and India, a delegation from Afghanistan had gone into India, and all of a sudden I was seeing that Indian officials were glorifying the Afghan Taliban. And this is the same India which was saying that they were, on a mission to ruin jihad training camps or factories, and they were going to, put radical religious groups down. And then they were praising Afghan Taliban. That was so self-contradictory and just highlighted the hypocrisy actually in the Indian narrative, that somebody called Abhijit Iyer was glorifying Taliban as the most secular people on earth. Oh, I mean, they have banned girls from going to school, leave everything else alone. And these are secular to India. And India is the country which aims to end religious terrorism and religious-based extremism worldwide. That's rich coming from them. So I think, but we need to keep in mind that India is the worst neighbor. So India has had skirmishes with China on Chinese border. India has had tensions with even Nepal, at the Lipu Lake territory and whatnot. And India has had also, conflicts with Bangladesh. They have tiffs with Bangladesh on the diplomatic front and with Pakistan. So they are not happy with anybody. And I think that for other countries in the region like China and Nepal, they need to make sure that India is not able to use the kind of aggression that they had tried using against them every now and then, and which they have tried relying on against Pakistan. So there is common interest, shared interests among countries within the region to ensure that India and Indian-based aggression is not exported to other countries in the region, because that could lead to a huge security risk. And this region does not need it, certainly does not. And for Indian media and for Indian officials listening to the rhetoric, I thought that for them, nuclear war is a picnic. It's an idea for a picnic. It's entertainment for them. But they should know that nuclear war is no joke. And you do not act irresponsibly the way that Indian media is acting irresponsibly even now. They say, oh, it's not a ceasefire, it's just a pause. And, we might do something and we might rely on some misadventure in the coming days. So India is acting like a rogue state. They want aggression, they want escalation, and Pakistan wants de-escalation. So that means that we need, more and more countries ought to rely on Pakistan actually as agent for peace.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Muneeb, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. Faisal, I want your take on when we take a look at this India-Afghan axis, because you keep mentioning, of course, the way different provinces in Afghanistan are so actively involved. And of course, we know of safe havens being there. But the kind of interactions that Muneeb was also mentioning between Afghanistan and India are very, very important. So how do we move forward with the trust or the reliance that is needed for this cooperation to truly exist?
Yes, Anna, I have actually come across two different narratives about it. I mean, I just want to highlight both of them.
Okay.
First one is, of course, as Muneeb has rightly pointed out, that they actually went all the way to New Delhi, and the delegation in the war time, they actually went there, and they stood there and did not say anything, but of course there were statements from the Indian side, and them statements, they were hailing the Taliban at that time and all. There are sources whom I actually talked to, and I came to know about this, that India actually wanted to use ISIS Khorasan and TTP proxies, as they are being funded by India themselves, to attack at the same time from our western border. And we know that in them days, Pakistan not only repelled a huge number of fighters that actually came from the other side, Pakistan's armed forces neutralized numerous of the fighters who during that time they were coming towards Pakistan. And according to my sources, according to my understanding, which I'm saying the alternate narratives, that is that the Taliban tipped Pakistan on them, and Taliban actually gave the intelligence to Pakistan that these people, and of course Taliban, knowing the facts that these people are proxies of India, they went all the way to India to shut them up and tell them that don't do it, don't involve us, because we don't want to be part of any war, and stop these kind of financing, and stop using people who are in our land illegally, and stop using them as a tool to engage Pakistan on the western border. And that is why there was no statement from the Afghan delegation in that particular trip. So this is the other side of the narrative which I'm coming across. What's true and what's not, that is of course probable, and I am probing it, but somehow this is the actual, and that is why we saw that Mullah Amir Muttaqi, he was present in Beijing as well, and he was shaking hand with the foreign minister of China, and then of course he was shaking hands with Pakistan's foreign minister and deputy prime minister Ishaq Dar as well. And this could be an angle to it in which we can see, and he has actually stated after meeting with both Chinese and Pakistani delegations in Beijing, after that he has stated that he agrees that the region needs peace, and Pakistan, China and Afghanistan, they should join hands against all of the menace, and all three countries, they should be working in tandem for the peace in the region rather than any conflict. So this can be an extension to which I am hearing the echoes about. And the first narrative, whether they were involved or whether they were standing with India, no, not at all. At that time, when India's own allies, the Western allies, when India's own ally Israel, when India's own Quad members, they were not standing with India, how is it possible that a country like Afghanistan would be standing with them, especially after that particular meeting between Afghan delegation and Jay Shankar, who happens to be always boasting about the kind of charms he's having. Maybe them charms only work in India, not elsewhere at all, but it is highly possible that the kind of narratives he was coming up with at that time and statements he was coming up with, that we want to revive the investments in Afghanistan, this showed to some extent this, I felt like there is a fear on the part of the Indians at that time. Reason being, probably they were given a shut up call from the Afghans.
Right. And Farrukh, I also want your take on this, because this is an important aspect for Pakistan, especially when we talk about our fight against terrorism. And while, of course, we have had success within the borders, these elements coming from outside of Pakistan, especially from India and Afghanistan, are really important. Do you think this nexus truly exists?
Right, Slara, and that is a good question. I've been actually pointing out that there is circumstantial evidence to actually prove that, and it started with Afghan takeover. One photographer who actually exposed Modi's government's mistreatment of COVID victims whose bodies were being burnt was the first person who was killed by Afghan Taliban, right? And he was Indian, and he was a Muslim Indian, right? So there is enough circumstantial evidence, but I am open to being proven wrong. And I think that again, there is circumstantial evidence that Kabul might be actually trying to fix our concerns in two aspects. One, of course, third-party negotiations, as you pointed out, to tripartite interaction. On the other side, I also see that when India was lobbing its missiles at Pakistan, it ended up, targeting Afghanistan also. So that would actually give me some kind of pause, and I want to see what becomes of our interaction with Afghan Taliban. Having said that, remember that everything that is happening in Pakistan has only one sponsor. You might actually talk about Afghan Taliban, or for that matter, Kulbhushan Yadav's presence in Iran. But the sponsor, by the way, once again, thanks to India's stupidity, now Afghanistan is, now Iran is fully on board with Pakistan, right? But what I wanted to actually say that in the end, it is only one sponsor, that is India. And there is a very clear message being sent to India. Those days when there was some kind of blind eye was turned to whatever India was doing are gone. Our new leadership, civil and military and intelligence, is totally awake, and they take care of certain aspects, which is very important. A few years ago, something very interesting started happening, and it was being called mutual assured disruption. If there was anything that would go wrong in India, like lynching, like something else, a rape or something of that sort, immediately something similar would happen in Pakistan. So now that also has to stop. And India, whatever its assets might be in Pakistan, if it actually does not dissolve them, then they will be dissolved for India by us. That is for sure. Like we had their planes all the time on our radars. All these people sitting inside, outside are visible, right? So it is prudent for India to actually let go and walk the talk when it says that it does not want to do anything negative in Pakistan. Regarding overall situation as well, they keep on pretending that Operation Sindoor is not over. We know how to end this also. By the way, let me remind everybody how right we all were proven. At that time, when they hadn't started, I actually mentioned force posture that has been proven. Then I said that if you do it and if you start doing it, you will start it, but the consequences today are going to be less consequential than after you pause or you stop the operation. And similarly, I also promised that dominance narrative will not be allowed to stand. So I can assure you that all those strategic aims have been proven. And now, if you don't actually end this silliness and this so-called purported water war in the name of IWT, Indus Waters Treaty, then India will rue the day. So it is important right now. Muneeb was absolutely right. We don't want to escalate. India's biggest problem, why it has been losing all its allies. And look at their stupidity, Slara. One of the reasons why India keeps on losing all their allies is that it has become a high maintenance ally. That every time something happens, even if India goes asking for favor, you are not supposed to mention it. If you mention it like President Trump did, immediately what happens, India starts unleashing its influence all over the world to attack the people, right? And then they actually want the world to stand still and contort to prove that Modi is powerful. With that kind of state of affairs, nobody will stand. Pakistan does not want to be a high maintenance ally. So we don't want escalation. And in coming days, we are going to show we have won back the entire world. So we will put it to good use.
Right. Thank you very much, Farrukh. Thank you, Faisal, for joining us in the debate. As always, that's all we have time for. We'll now see you tomorrow.